Welcome to the No Bull Political Arena with your hosts, Sophia Nelson, Bill O'Reilly, Brian Mistro, and TJ McCormick. It's real voices, raw politics, and no bullshit. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the No Bull Political Arena. This is Brian Mistro. I'm here with our dear friend, Bill O'Reilly. And Bill, I'd like to start today with a little bit of a heated topic. You and I have been consistently on, there's not a whole lot of things or balls and strikes with Trump. There's not a lot of things personally that I have agreed with that he's done. Iran has been an exception in bombing Iran. So now I'm going to come out with something that I am now surprisingly very concerned that he's about to screw it up. And I was going to use a stronger word. I probably should, but I think he's going to screw it up. So let me just start off with the reporting is that the United Kingdom is not going to let us bomb our base, take any of our bombers and attack Iran from any of their bases. There's one in the UK that we could use. That's Fairford, I think, the Fairford, UK, and I may be mispronouncing it with my southern accent. But also the Diego Garcia, which is very, very close. And let me tell you, from somebody that did support what he did, bombing Iran for the nuclear facilities, and why I'm against this. I don't think he's got a plan in place. First of all, it's not a host of countries. It's the United States and Israel. And Israel hitting Iran is such a sore topic in the Middle East. It's just going to inflame things. It always does. But how do you achieve regime change, which is what the administration's talking about again? How do you achieve regime change without putting boots on the ground? I don't think you can do it. I've even seen some accounts that I followed on X saying, well, let's let Israelis put boots on the ground there. That won't work. It's shocking that some of these people with the number of followers that they've got would even say something like that. The issue here that people need to remember is that when the United States rolled into Mosul, and I'll just use that as one example, we were greeted with flowers, people cheering, thank you for saving us. 2 months later, they were shooting at us. I don't see how this is going to be any different, especially without troops on the ground. And if you're going to put troops on the ground, this is a whole other discussion. So what I have seen, and then I'm going to get your opinion, Bill, but what I have seen coming out of the administration are sites that they could bomb from the air. It doesn't work because if you start dropping bombs from 40,000, 50,000 feet, okay, not everything's going to hit that target. And even the ones that do, that may be next door to some guy who hates the regime, but you just killed his kids. So you just made somebody that's going to want to come after you. And the last thing I'm going to say about it is why this is so much different than anything else that we've done. This one requires extra planning because unlike any other country that we've ever done, they do have enriched uranium. Now, it may not be bomb grade, That doesn't stop them from making a dirty bomb. So I can't comprehend what ISIS or Al-Qaeda would have been like had they had access to a whole lot of highly enriched uranium. I think what happened on 9/11 would have been infinitely worse. What's your thoughts, Bill?
I tend to be very hawkish. I see Iran as a giant infected wound.
And we agree with that. And I agree with that.
Thrown in the world, and I fully support Trump or any other president taking them out. Absolutely taking them out. I think, the military planners know best. We're sitting in our living rooms, the rest of it. But from what I see and what I've seen, I think a strong wind will blow down Iran, this regime. I think that there is just a police state. Their military is in tatters after what Israel and we did to it, and I think we need to finish the job. That's where I am completely. I also think to your point about Mosul and what happened in Iraq, and that's always a great conversation to have because things always go unexpectedly. The flowers come and then anything can happen. But in the case of Iran, the country is much less factionalized than in Iraq. It's mostly it's a Persian, it's a single culture. You've got it's mostly Shia that are Islamic or Shia, but it's one group. It's a very young population. It's about 70% under the age of 50. I think they're ready for it, which is not to say the wise head always says, careful, careful, careful. I am not for nation building there. I'm for knocking out everything they've got. And then if they rebuild it, knock it out again. And if they rebuild it, knock it out again until this regime's gone. I don't think we need to put boots on the ground. I don't think we need to be such the good guys that we put boots on the ground. I think they've caused enough damage in the world and the regime. If they pop their head up, hit them. If they pop it up, hit them again. I'm really aggressive on that regime. I think the region would be relieved. I think a lot of people privately within the region, Muslim countries would be relieved. They'd love to see that thorn pulled.
And so a lot of that you and I do agree with. But they're a bad actor. I think we can count up probably the worst actor in the Middle East. Certainly for Israel, I can't think of anybody that has directly or indirectly caused more deaths than Iran.
And they no longer have Syria. The Russian thing has collapsed. They've Hezbollah's weakened. Hamas, you know what I mean? They are just they're just poisonous. It's a poisonous regime.
It is.
And they've just used proxies for decades to just stir up discontent and tumult around the world. And their time is here. God bless our troops, our airmen, our airwomen, all of them. If we decide to pull the trigger, I hope it goes, with Godspeed and goes well, obviously.
Yeah. I see your point. And again, I'm not disagreeing with who they are. I'm disagreeing with the approach of it because,
of course, no, exactly.
The only thing worse than them turning into a North Korea, and that would be terrible. And that's a possibility is them turning into an Al Qaeda or an ISIS with a factional group in there that has highly enriched uranium. Because if that hits a U.S. city, it's not going to kill people immediately as a nuclear weapon. But folks, you're not going back into that city for a long time, and it'll kill a lot of people.
I mean, they're very well organized, or they have the reputation of being very well organized with Hezbollah in the U.S. There's, a lot of the Hezbollah cells in the U.S. have survived running illegal tobacco from the South to Michigan, North Carolina to Michigan to avoid the taxes. That's how they make money. They've got all these scams, but there have been times already where they should have been turned on. When we killed one of their leading generals that President Trump did a few years ago. There were other ways where they put a reward on the president's head. That's out there, but where are those? Like, if they're going to do it, they probably would have done it.
Hasn't happened yet. Yeah,
it hasn't. I'm not saying they don't. Someone doesn't blow up somebody and kill people that are completely innocent, like the Iranians seem to love to do. But it's time. They're never going to be weaker. They're never going to be weaker than
I agree with that part. I agree with that
it's
part.
It's a common sense. Take them while they're out. You know what I mean?
So I'm curious, for those of you that are watching this, what do you think? Bill and I agree on many aspects of it. I completely disagree with their approach that they're taking. But he makes a lot of good points too. They're never going to be weaker than right now. So let's talk about something else in the world stage that's happening, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. So it's been reported through the Wall Street Journal that the Trump administration, we might as well say Donald Trump, is very hesitant or is going to cancel an arms sale to Taiwan. Because the reason being is that China is objecting to it, and they may pull the plug if he does on his trip to Beijing, which I think is happening next month, and I'm not positive the exact date. But long story short, when does the United States have another country dictate to them who they're going to sell arms to? And the bigger question I've got for you, Bill, are we abandoning Taiwan?
God, I hope not. we should all worry about Taiwan because the situation has changed so much from 1949, 1950, 51, where China was even back into the early 70s, where China was a backwater, using crazy Maoist policies, the Cultural Revolution. They're putting dunce caps on teachers, children beating their teachers to death. I mean, the country went insane. Today, the country is obviously an economic powerhouse,
Mhm.
and the stakes are really, really high. But stakes are high for us too. I don't. If you're going to if you're going to announce a weapon system is being sold there, you sell it. You find out beforehand if there's an objection, and then you can negotiate it quietly. But you
Mhm.
don't do this stuff publicly, and so I don't like the way that's played out.
Mm. Interesting. Well, I think we both agree still that supporting Taiwan is still in the United States' best interest,
Yeah,
the
yeah. By the
military.
way, I had an uncle who was in the Senate and from 70 to 76, Jim Buckley, and when the vote was 99-1 to support China going into the UN rather than Taiwan, he was the one. So I got a
Oh
lot
my
of
gosh.
family pride here on the line. It's but you don't want a world war over something, but at the same time you don't want a world war over being weak either.
Right.
So it's a real balancing act.
So on another stage, and I haven't followed this closely, I think you wrote an article on it, if I'm not mistaken, recently. Um, Prince Andrew has been arrested. Well, I guess it's not Prince Andrew anymore.
Right.
Andrew, or the previous Prince Andrew, has been arrested. Tell me what's the background on that, Bill, and what are your thoughts? Because again, I don't follow the royal family stuff as much, but I fully trust your opinion and what you think about that.
Yeah, I wrote a column a few days ago. I sent it to a couple of newspapers that I often publish in, and it was a little bit too strong, and which I appreciated. So I just self-published and sent it out. And basically, the reason I don't really follow the Royals, but I did follow Andrew and Fergie because when they used to come into New York in the 80s and 90s, they used to drink at my bars. They
Ah,
used to come NYPD, especially Fergie, and everyone loved Fergie. They get on the back of the NYPD motorcycles. I won't even name the bar. It was in the East 70s in Manhattan. It's closed now, but I still want to do it to Tom, the owner. They put them in the back, and it was like all the Irish cops and stuff like that. And they'd get hammered back there, and they'd drive back to the airport like this with Andrew and Fergie, and the town loved them, especially Fergie. It was really Fergie they loved. I've turned so much on Andrew because of the Epstein thing. I think he is. I'm not going to parse words. I think he's one of the great weasels of modern history. He and in the column it said you have two choices, and this is strong language. I warn everybody. I said come clean or blow your brains out, and that's how I really feel about it. You do something so egregious where you're raping young women, like under. I mean, you're raping women, period. But underage is the real
it's
rape
even,
here,
yeah, even worse. Yeah.
and you come from a royal family, you've had all that education, you'd have had all that moral philosophy shoved
Privilege.
up your backside, just shot up there all your life. We're different, we're this. You represent a family that goes back 800 years and all, however many hundred years with this family. uh all that breeding and the rest of it leads up to when you screw up, you cop to it. For the love of God, when you do something that's just outrageous and you're caught and it's over, you just say, you know what, you be the I said, be the Albert Speer of the Third Reich. We need a witness to step forward, even if Speer was a weaselly little shite that was the witness to save his own hide. Andrew should either do that, and if he's not willing to do that, I think he should put a bullet in his brain because that's what a man would do.
Mm,
That's what a
mm.
man would do. A Japanese man would, you know what I mean? That's what they would do for the shame that they put their family through. The only thing that can give him any, to me, it's either he comes clean or he takes his own life. I know
Oh
that's a
my
terrible thing to
gosh.
say, but I really believe in that.
Well, it's amazing that how many people are getting arrested over there. I mean, this was the prince, right, over this, and what do we have happening over here? I guess the other thing about this that makes it extraordinary is I read, and you may know, TJ may be the person to ask about this because I think he really does.
He's into
J
the royal stuff. Yeah, yeah, he
He
follows
is,
it. I'm
and
an
I think
Irishman. I'm
Sophia
real.
does too. Sophia writes about it a lot. But
Yeah,
anyways, it's you and I. But this is the first time I've read that with in hundreds of years, hundreds, centuries, that
yeah,
a member of the royal family was arrested.
yeah.
Um,
Very,
it makes it
very
pretty
good look for the
extraordinary.
UK. Very good look for the UK. I mean, the Royals they're trying to survive modernity, and it's not easy. And so I think this move probably, I mean, this move came from the police, not from the royal family, but the royal family accepted it and they said
Hmm.
this is right. We're not above the law, and I think that maybe preserves them for another couple of generations. I got to say, I think this is exactly the right thing to do.
So how does that work? And you may not know. Do Would the police ask permission of the king before he arrested him?
No,
Oh, he
no, they just
wouldn't.
came in. They just came in and did the arrest, and they probably got a courtesy call. But the royal family has no jurisdiction over criminal law.
Hmm.
That's the state. They run it. So probably they got a polite note or something. Apparently Andrew wasn't tipped off by the way he looked in the car, and this is what's supposed to happen. This is what should happen here too.
Accountability.
When people in high places do things that are wrong, you're supposed to pay a consequence for it. But this guy, I can't believe he hasn't come clean. I mean, there are so many people obviously involved in this thing with Epstein, and
Hmm.
and the girls are getting younger by the photo. You know what I mean? This was teenagers, which is outrageous. I'm a father. We've had teenagers. Now you're looking at little kid legs and stuff like that in photos, and Crocs on little feet. And that to me is bullet in the back of the head stuff.
Oh
If,
my
if you're if,
God.
if you're abusing those kids like that, or if you were around that and didn't say anything, or you know who those people are and you're not talking, you're just not a man. I'm sorry.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry. There's
God.
nothing left.
Yeah.
He
Well,
must be
it's
such a disgrace to that family, like
oh, I can't.
such a
Yeah,
crying
exactly.
disgrace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I can't imagine. Again, I hopefully that gets replicated over here because look at the number of resignations that we've had or people that have stepped down from their roles in major companies and stuff here
Just because
in
they
the
knew
United
him.
States.
They swapped emails. A woman that resigned, the lawyer,
Right,
just because she had
right.
swapped emails with him and made a joke. But that's like shows some honor,
Yeah,
you know, you know,
yeah,
good for her.
yeah. Let's come back to something that's happening back in the United States, and it's something you and I've talked about a couple of times, a pox on both houses. More gerrymandering. So it's been announced today that Colorado is now getting into the act.
Yeah.
This would not affect the 2018 midterms. It would affect 2028 and potentially 2030. But they are looking at doing another mid-decade redistricting, and they're going to add, I believe, three more seats, Democrat-leaning seats. Boebert will be happy because it'll make her seat. I believe her district stays even redder, gets even redder. But God Almighty, talk about. I mean, where does this end? At some point, it's just the damn country is just so damn gerrymandered. I don't know how you fix it. It's a sore point for me because I absolutely believe that gerrymandering is one of the principal things that truly destroys our democracy. And again, I come from this from a electoral reform background. That's a big part of what I support. What do you think, Bill? Same
I
shit,
I I
different day.
I I worry that the gerrymandering, I understand. I've done it when I was young. I've drawn maps. I was the guy chosen in the party to work with I was the Republican and work with the Democrats and drew maps. I did the dirty. I mean, we sat there with computers and you do the demographics. You hover over. Even in the early '90s, they had really really high quality stuff for that. I Gerrymandering to me is just it's just a reality of politics.
Hmm.
You have two parties. Winners get an advantage on it, and you say the independent commission, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it. But what I am concerned about is like the mid-decade redistricting, that type of stuff. That's not supposed to happen. There are so many, like, we're breaking our traditions, as much as we're changing our laws, and the traditions to me are almost more important. There's no honor left in either party. It's just each party going for pure advantage. I mean, there's a purity to that. There's a cleanliness to that
Hmm.
intellectually, but I don't think it's good for the country. So when I see the mid decade stuff from either party, I can't stand it. By
Yeah.
the way, in New York, I mean, the Democrats are going after Nicole Maliotakis' seat, New York 11, which is Staten Island, which is the conservative borough of the five in New York City, and a little bit of Brooklyn. And the Court of Appeals went against her today. They want to wash out that district on some racial lines or something. The district's been around for plenty of years, so they're just making up stuff. But I think the appellate court will side for the Republicans
Mm.
on that one. But it's going on. You're right, Brian. Like all over the country, pox on both your houses. It's just it's it's Sherman into the South. We were burning down our heritage, and it's our kids are going to have to be, they're going to be left with whatever burning rubble pile we hand them.
Yeah, well, I haven't lost faith that there is a way to create a true independent, or let me rephrase that,
Maybe AI, maybe AI.
some, yeah, or some type of a districting process that doesn't favor either party.
Right. But I also
Um,
don't like it, and I should have interrupted with Sophia a few days ago, but she's so bright, and I was a little bit intimidated. She's a constitutional scholar, and she's an expert on the Civil Rights Act. I don't like black districts. I like districts that are just, I like cookie cutter all around the country. Who's ever in the district is in the district, and I don't like drawing white districts or black districts. I think districts should be geographical
Based upon
and not
race.
done by cherry picking races.
You think that's going to change with the VRA? Because I've been of the opinion they're going to gut part of that. I think with listening to Kavanaugh's questions, and so the Voting Right Act. So for those that are watching, the Supreme Court right now has the Voting Right Act in front of them, with one of the key parts of it that you cannot divide up a district based upon race. I've always had a little bit of an issue with that because if 95% of blacks all vote dim, then you're effectively going to be carving it up by race. I mean, and I hate to say it that way, but I've long been a fan of the VRA. I know that you haven't, Bill.
Yeah,
It just it's. What do
I,
you think it's going to go? Is are they?
I
You
mean,
think they're going
I
to get
honor
it?
the intention. I understand what they were trying to do, and the Jim Crow laws in the South that dissuaded voting, or more than
Yeah.
dissuaded, were outrageous. And I think we overcorrected. I think the proper way is to, like, basically two wrongs don't make a right. You go back
Hmm.
to a system where we're all faceless Americans. We're all, the Martin Luther King. It's character, and it's not your skin color. Um, but for a number of decades, the black districts were carved in. They're just, to me, the problem is they're completely uncompetitive. They're all in New York. They're all 90-10 seats. 90% wins. The Republicans typically don't even field candidates. And what you end up with no discussion, no compromise, no
Hmm.
understanding of one another. Like, to me, every district should have a mix of a lot of Americans. I think that's the healthiest thing for all of us. And if it's
Yeah.
just a black district, it never changes. And it's like, okay, that's one vote off. So the other party, the Republicans, will say, I'm not giving that district anything. Why should I? Why should I invest, campaigns in there? Why should I invest anything in there? And vice versa for the Republican districts. So I think we erred. I think we overcorrected. And, I know my thinking might be a little kumbaya, but that's the whole idea of the country
No,
was
it
to
it it is.
kumbaya, right?
No, I think
Make a
you bring,
living.
yeah, you bring up a good point. I wonder if somehow maybe some kind of a solution. And you know what we need to do is get some electoral reform people on here, and I will do that. I know a couple of people that is literally what they do and have done professionally and made huge changes for our
You know them
country.
all. I mean, with all your work in the third party world, you got to
Yeah.
know them all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's because if you're in a third party, then electoral reform is what's going to make you or break you. And not because people are voting on you because of it. It's because the other political parties make it so that you can't compete in the damn thing. And so you need electoral reform. But I wonder if you redrew it, I'm just thinking this, it just popped into my head, Bill. What if, let's say you take like an Iowa, they get 5 districts. That's what they're allotted through the census. Okay. They can only carve it up uh once every 10 years, so right after the census. And they were required to make those 5 districts as close to red and blue as possible. Okay. In other words, it was R plus 3, and then they have to keep it under less than a plus 3 or less than a plus 5. I don't know. I don't know that there's a solution. As many
Yeah.
years as I've done this, I don't know that there's a solution, but it's what we've got right now isn't working. And certainly Colorado, Texas, Virginia, California, what's going to happen in New York. I mean, it's just a perfect example of just breaking the damn system.
But
Uh,
also remember that the gerrymandering for the close districts, I mean, it serves both parties. Like, so when I was negotiating with
hmm,
Democrats for drawing up districts, I would see an area an area that was like deep blue. We weren't doing red and blue back then yet, and frankly, Republicans should have been blue. I thought, because red and left, but I would see a bit of territory and say, God, that looks ugly. I don't want that. Ugh, it's just terrible. It's screwing up my whole district. And the Democrat would see that and see gold. Oh, I'll
Mm.
take that. And so when you had a joining district, it's like, you give me that, I'll take that. I take this, you take this. He lives where? Okay, I'll put him here. This candidate, we'll stick him in your district. We'll stick this candidate. And it gets very cozy. It's not just the districts that are black or white or that kind of thing. Even the close districts, there's a lot of negotiating going on to keep those electeds elected. And you cut deals all over the place. It's not cool, but that's the way it works.
Oh my
So there's a lot,
goodness.
a lot that goes on. There's a lot that goes on.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That would be a good topic for us to have sometime on,
Yeah.
what goes on in gerrymandering
There's
and whatnot.
software. I'm sure you can get it online now, because I remember using that. Like I said, that software in the early '90s. It was made by the federal government. It was quite good. But I'm sure there's tons of software where you can build the district, and it's like you float over the election district, and it's like, okay, 38% white, 16% black, 11% Hispanic, this kind, and all the factors that you need to factor in, or that you shouldn't now, I guess. They all pop up, and then if you move that, this one pops here. It's like, it's a game of whack-a-mole. And it's actually fun to put together districts, but they all end up looking like crazy monstrosities
like a piece of a puzzle, right?
right, that end up on the front
one of
page of the
those
New York Post.
10,000 piece puzzles that nobody can put together, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We had one. It was called the Shotgun District. I drew it in Manhattan, and we needed a little bit. We needed maybe 20,000 more voters. So I stuck in Central Park South, and that was the sight on the gun. It looked exactly like a sight. We all laughed about it. But it was a good district.
What a story. What a discussion. I know we're about out of time. Let me just ask you one thing, or I'll bring up one last little thing that happened in the news today. So they came out, and I know we talk about the tariffs and the trade deficit and all that quite a lot, because quite frankly, it's something that I don't care who you are. If you're watching this show, it is going to affect you. So they came out today, I think, believe it was the CBO, and they said that the trade deficit in December was $70.3 billion. And for the year was 900, little over 900 billion. Let's just say $900 billion, which made it the largest deficit since 1960. Um, that goes completely against what the Trump administration is saying, that they've just collapsed it and the tariffs are working and that, we've never done better. That's not what we're reading in the news, Bill. I don't know. What are your
It's not, and I'm no expert on tariffs, but what it tells me simply is that Americans kept their spending habits up. They bought where they wanted to buy, and paid more money for it. That's basically what happened. I know that happened with me.
Yeah.
I didn't stop. For Christmas, I still buy stuff in Ireland and the UK and other things, and I paid the tariff on the way over. And you can't you can't get a Harris tweed made in the U.S. It's made in Scotland. That's where you
Right.
get it. If you want it, you're just gonna have to pay more for it. So it's not worked. It's not worked. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you the specifics of all the whys. I mean, I generally accepted the wisdom of the ages that tariffs are a sucker's bet.
Yeah.
And Republicans wandered into it, a little over a century ago, and they wandered right back out of it because it was a sucker's bet.
Yeah.
So I think it's a sucker's bet now, and I think we're finding that out.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting.
I like the idea of what Trump was trying to do to get more manufacturing in the U.S. and you move stuff back, especially for critical products, for
I
pharmaceuticals.
completely agree with that. Yeah.
That's really important, and for that, I do give him credit for that foresight. But I think they imagined that companies would just start popping up all over America again as manufacturing concerns, and people aren't looking for those jobs as much.
No. Well, and then as we talked about, I believe it was the last show, that it doesn't matter if you make steel here, if it costs $20 more or $50 more a pound, or I'm just making these numbers up. If that's the inputs that you're having to buy, the cost of your product that you're going to put out is going to become, you're going to have to ask a higher margin on it. And that's what the problem is right now. That's exactly what the economists kept saying, is that, yeah, by putting tariffs and, on the steel industry and the aluminum industry, they're going to love you. We're going to hire 500 more people in those plants. You're just going to lose 50,000 at the manufacturing facilities because they can't sell anything now. So the economists have been proven right. Let me just finish up with a kind of a note to everybody. We've got a lot more candidates and politicians that are coming on the show. We had a couple more today announced that they're going to come on our show. So we're going to be releasing Annie Andrews. We just had her on last night. It's a wonderful, wonderful interview. Bill, I got to tell you,
She was
she's
awfully good.
sharp.
She
She
was
is
awfully
sharp.
good. I don't think the Democrat. I mean, I'm on the Republican side of things, but I don't think the Democrats could have chosen a better candidate. She's got a touch. She's for those who will see the interview. She's a very attractive pediatrician, young mom, really smart, not afraid. She came under our show. We don't have a million viewers. Like a press person would tell her, don't go on to a show that doesn't have that many viewers. She had no problem with it. She was
Yeah.
willing to make mistakes. She was open and honest. And I liked her. I thought she was a really good candidate.
Yeah. And
Lindsey Graham's got to watch out. He's only up by
he
like 4
better.
6 points,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
losing about a quarter of Republicans, and they made it just stay home.
Yeah, it's that's close. That's going to be a lot closer race, I think, than people are talking about because everybody's talking about what is it, North Carolina, what's the other, Ohio, Texas. I mean, those are getting all the headlines. You better look back at home at South Carolina because I think that she's got a shot at that. She's a
Yeah, there's a
really
whole
good
cottage
candidate.
industry of He-Man, Lindsey Graham haters in the country, and it's bipartisan.
And I believe that a good part of them live in South
And
Carolina,
a big part of them lives in
incidentally.
South Carolina. I used to be a big fan, when it was Batman and
Yeah,
Robin with
yeah.
McCain, but Graham is just he is not the most he's not the most noble guy, I don't think.
Well, he's such a flip-flopper at some point. And I don't think MAGA loves him. And if you're old Republican like you and I are, he's done nothing but piss you off since
Right.
some of the Trump
I
years.
mean,
So,
could you imagine if the Republicans end up losing the Senate out of South Carolina?
oh my gosh.
You
Well,
know?
I think that Texas would have the bigger nuclear explosion part of
Yeah.
it, but they're both going to be tough races. I just in my opinion after meeting with her, and you and I both met with a lot of politicians in our lives, a lot
Yep.
of them that I'm just like he's not going to win. It's they're just
Yeah.
that's not going to
She's
happen.
she's got something.
She's
She's
sharp.
got
Yeah,
something.
she's
I mean,
sharp.
at the end of the day, people typically go home. The voter registration favors Republicans, South Carolina, but not as much as say Democrats are favored in California or in Washington
Yeah.
State or in New York. It's not to that
Well,
extent.
and
But a lot of Republicans will go home to Graham in the end. They'll hold their nose and they'll
oh
do it.
yeah, that's for sure.
So I
And
wouldn't lay a lot of money on her, but I wouldn't count her out either.
I wouldn't. It'll be interesting because this is going to be a crazy election year. Thank you everybody for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. As we've said, we've got a lot of great guests coming on. We've already had some, and there's a lot of great stuff coming, a lot of great content. We're going to have some new guests tomorrow that we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that's happened with ICE in Minnesota. We're going to have an immigration lawyer on tomorrow that's going to talk about that too. So you're going to get an opportunity to see a lot of different guests and viewpoints on the show. Please make sure you subscribe. It's at No Bull Media Group right there. Go to YouTube at No Bull Media Group, or just type in No Bull Media Group. You'll see the bull pop up. That's us. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny. Like our stuff if you like it. Leave a question or if question it. And by the way, let me know who you think was right, whether me or Bill. It's okay. It's okay to tell Bill he's really, really, really wrong all the time. I do
I'm
that
wrong.
all the time. Yeah,
50-50,
yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow with some great stuff. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you.
Good night, Frank. Good night, everyone.
All right. The No Bull Political Arena is on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us and your host a follow.
Hey everybody, this is Sophia Nelson. Follow me at I am Sophia Nelson on every one of my social media platforms.
I'm Bill O'Reilly, and you can reach me at Twitter at WFBOR.
Hey, this is TJ. Follow me on X or Twitter at TJ McCormack.
This is Brian Mistro, and you can follow me on X at Brian_Mistro, or follow along on Facebook at Brian.Mistro.
A No Bull Media Group member.